Hey everyone and welcome to Method's Sylvie guide for Fellowship. I sank many hours into the closed tests and beta just so I could teach you everything you need to know to succeed without stress or frustration. So let's dive right in. On screen right now you'll see a quick cheat sheet. I'll be going through everything more in depth throughout the rest of the video, but here's your no fluff guide. Everything is subject to change, however if you want a quick pick up and play without thinking, well here it is. Now let's get into it. The basics. Sylvie revolves around utilising her flutterflies and flowers to keep your group alive and deal damage. It can be very easy to get overwhelmed as a healer, especially if you are newer to the role or unfamiliar with the content, but just breathe and remember that it's okay to fail. So you have 4 pink flutterflies and 1 blue. Pinks idle around you and can be assigned to any ally at a maximum of 1 per person with Fluttercall heal. It has no duration and just heals them over time. Her blue flutterfly on the other hand does one of 2 things. If it's on yourself, it'll increase your flutterfly healing on all allies and reduce your mana cost, and if it's assigned on an ally, it will increase their flutterfly healing received by 150%. I'll talk more about this later. Then we have Sylvie's flowers, Life Petal and Heart Bloom. These are her main healing cooldowns and do large amounts of healing. Use them often and trust your flowers. Next up we have talents. As Sylvie, a lot of our talents increase our healing in different ways or bolster our defensives. As you unlock points throughout your journey, different nodes require different investments, which means our options can be quite free-flowing. But I've gone ahead and made it as simple as possible for you all, outlining what I believe to be the best general setup you can have at every stage. So your talent timeline will look like this. Your first 2 points go into Nettle to the Petal, third goes into Natural Knowledge, and so on. On screen you'll have a stage-by-stage breakdown highlighting all the talents chosen, so just follow along and you'll be grand. The build does shift around a little, so just keep an eye on where the points are being allocated and feel free to pause at any moment to double check things. There is a talent point counter at the top to help identify how many points are being locked in at each threshold. And of course, you're free to mix and match and try things out, have some fun with it. Healing. I'll quickly reiterate the basics in case you skipped ahead. Sylvie's kit revolves around flutterflies and flowers. You have 1 blue and 4 pink flutterflies, and 2 flowers being Life Petal and Heart Bloom. Your flutterflies idle around you until you assign them to allies to do healing over time. With that out the way, let's talk about things a little bit more in depth. Your pink flutterflies interact with most of your kit, whether it's through the healing they do or actually consuming them with other abilities. They are very important. Your blue flutterfly should be on the tank the majority of the time. You'll swap this to yourself in moments where you can expect high amounts of group damage, and with talents it provides 5% damage reduction to the ally it's on, making it even better. Fluttercall Restore Life is the only reactive heal you really have at your disposal. It's a solid way to stay on top of your allies' health bars if they are taking heavy damage. When you use Restore Life, it consumes 2 pink flutterflies that you have out and they return to you. Sometimes you will just have to Restore Life spam to keep your team alive, but in cases that you don't, you should try to do something called Weaving. Weaving is essentially just using a different GCD in between Restore Lives. This dramatically reduces the amount of pink flutterflies that you have to put out again, since it only consumes the 2 oldest. Outside of that, we have what we consider our cooldowns. Life Petal is extremely strong early on, and trusting this to carry your healing while it's out is key. Later on the scaling isn't as strong, but it's still good and only has a 60-second cooldown baseline. You can reduce this even further with Nettle Bolt cast on enemies, and it spawns 2 boom shrooms when it dies. Then we have Heart Bloom. Heart Bloom is our strongest cooldown. Understanding how this works is key to getting the most out of it. It stores all your flutterfly healing done during its duration, and every 3 seconds for 15 seconds it pulses that healing onto allies. Effectively, this is a ramping cooldown, and it replaces Life Petal in regards to allowing a single CD to carry damage events. The best way to ramp this varies, but you'll at least want to always restore life before using this, since overhealing is included. For most damage events you'll play like this. You'll want to have pre-placed your bluey on the tank, restore life on your tank before you place the Heart Bloom, and then just restore life to tank before replacing pinks. For heavier damage events you can just restore life spam, but it's not the nicest thing for your mana bar. We also have a couple of extra cooldowns at our disposal that are very powerful. Iron Bark is an external you can put on an ally to reduce their damage taken by 20% for 12 seconds. Be as liberal with this as you need, particularly for your tank. Safe Haven is actually kind of another cooldown. It's a targeted circle you put down which increases the healing anyone receives by 40% for 15 seconds. It's excellent to help with very heavy damage intake. And not to forget our Dispel, Cure Ailment. There are a ton of debuffs in Fellowship that do various things, some good, some bad, but when in doubt just press the button. And last but not least, we need to talk about Sylvie's ultimate, Fluttercall Jubilee. This cooldown is extremely powerful. It calls upon dream flutterflies that distribute your allies' health evenly every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. It also spawns 6 prickly vines on use, and you gain 30% haste and a ton of mana regen. You'll want to save this for super heavy damage events. Then let's talk about our damage. Your damaging abilities are Nettle Bolt, Prickly Vine, and Shroom Splosion. Nettle Bolt is your filler, Prickly Vine you press off cooldown to spawn a vine that does damage, and Shroom Splosion throws any boom shrooms available to your target. You get boom shrooms when your nettles and flowers expire. Assuming you're using your cooldowns properly, you can contribute quite a lot of damage to your group. After all, if things die faster, you have less to heal. And with most of our shrooms coming from our healing cooldowns, you don't actually sacrifice much in order to do damage. The stat priority for Sylvie is this: eye level is king, followed by haste, then spirit, then crit, then expertise. Haste is huge as it increases the tick rate of your flutterfly healing and life petals. It also reduces the GCDs just so you can cast more often. For gems, Topaz and Ruby are pretty good. Use any tier 1 gems you have initially, but with how gem power works, I typically recommend putting all of your eggs into the Topaz basket. There are 2 very good legendaries on Sylvie that you can kind of swap between depending on what you want and need. The first one I want to mention is the legendary Neck. This converts any overhealing you do by Heart Bloom into an absorb that lasts 15 seconds. This is generally your best legendary, as increasing your group's effective health pool is super valuable. The other one of note is the legendary Cloak. This makes your Restore Life Hot increase their stamina by 10% and their armor by 20%. Typically this is really good for tanks as it increases their effectiveness, and you can keep this buff on them 100% of the time. For weapons, I'm going to be boring, and I typically just recommend Repository of Frozen Light. It's generally pretty good simply because it provides an additional healing cooldown. The main drawback of this weapon though is that it doesn't have any offensive component to it. Relics are mostly personal preference or group dependent since they are all utility focused. The only lock-in I'd say is Sin Binding Stone. It provides 15% damage reduction to yourself and allies for 15 seconds on a 3-minute cooldown. It's crazy good, particularly on some of the harder bosses in the game. Your second option just comes down to what you value or what you have available, so feel free to test things out and see what you like. And there we have it. This was Method's Sylvie guide. Thank you all for watching. If you found this useful, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to let us know your thoughts on Fellowship in the comments below. Much love friends, see you in the next one.